Welcome back to the Daily Misfire, and would you believe it? We're swapping the engine out in the Nova again with varying success. You would think we'd be better at this after doing this like last 4 years in a row, but we're not. Okay, well, I am obviously doing this after we've done the majority of the work here. This is a very poorly conceived video because what we were doing with working on it has been very struggle fest, just horrible. So, to put it plain and simple, it's been very challenging the last couple weeks to try to get this car together. We were actually supposed to be racing this weekend, but the car obviously is still semi-apart. So, yeah. That's kind of what's been going on, so just lead in with that. My original intro and some of the updates I did with the actual big camera, the one that you're seeing this on, I was a dummy and forgot to turn the mic on. Yeah, it's a new mic, I haven't used that before, so that's part of the issue here. And then the other side of this too is last weekend, one of my friends, Buddy, and I rebuilt the engine. So I got this one out, so I got this engine out Friday night. The 283 came out. Saturday afternoon and Sunday, we ended up literally most of Saturday, and then Saturday night, and then Sunday morning, we completely rebuilt or pulled the bottom end of the 283, the oil system and stuff out of that one, put it in the 350 because that's the only oil pump, pan, and pickup I have for 62 to 67 Novas because they're different and they're weird. So we swapped that over, got the top end together, we got everything adjusted, got everything kind of ready, got the engine in the car, got it ready to fire. There were some issues that we were kind of ran into, and a lot of that kind of stuff we didn't end up filming because honestly, I did time-lapse stuff, so you'll see some of that kind of stuff. But we were just trying to scramble and trying to get as much as we could done, and we honestly forgot about filming a lot of it. So, yeah, that's kind of what some of this video is. But yeah, so we did a lot of that. We got, but the engine is in the car. Cam's broken in. We got a whole bunch of that kind of stuff done with it. I'll go down the list here in a second on what the engine actually is. But yeah, so we got the cam in, everything's together in the car. We're still trying to figure out, there's a lot of valve noise, like valve clatter. I don't know if it's roller rockers or what, but we're going to go back through again probably today or tomorrow and readjust all the valves. And that'll be a later video kind of explaining kind of the steps that we've taken. But this is just kind of our lead-up build video, and then you get to see time-lapse stuff, and then I'm basically just talking, kind of giving you an intro on what's going on, and then you'll see me at the end of this, basically saying, hope you enjoyed it, and all that kind of stuff. So, but yeah, so we got, like engine-wise, here, I'll just grab you guys here in a second. You can get to see the engine, and I'll kind of overlay what we've done. Okay, so we're going to be using this 5/8 wrench as a handy-dandy, pointer, so you get to kind of see what all's happened. And yes, I know these wires are undone. That's because we're trying to figure out the whole rocker system right here underneath the valve cover. So we're going to go top to bottom, and we're going to start with the FI-Tech system that's sitting on top. So that is their Go EFI Classic system. That is actually, I am sponsored by FI-Tech, and they sent me that free of charge, which is fan-freaking-tastic. So that system is good to 650 horsepower. It's supposed to look like a Holley double pumper, which it really does. It has that gold anodized for retro look to it. It's pretty cool. We got everything wired in because this car was set up already for fuel injection before. I had a 400 horsepower system to begin with from them, and then we went to a 600 horsepower system, and then we ended up getting this from them to run this setup with the 350 when it came time to put the 350 back in. I I think when we got it all wired in and I turned the key, I think it started on the third pop, just because it had a few backfires. I think it had to do with a lot of timing. But it sat there and idled fantastically. I mean, everything that we needed to do, it does. There's almost no wiring or electronics in it aside from a few controller stuff on this side, and then all the wiring comes down to a harness right through here, and it ends up going to the computer controller right there, and that's what runs that whole entire system, is through this box right here. So that's a really cool system. I can't say enough good things about FI Tech. I know some people kind of bag on them for being, quote unquote cheap, or, I don't know what they have to say about that kind of stuff, because I've never really experienced that kind of stuff. Honestly, for me, these are like a fancy carburetor. Anything you need to do to them, you can work on. I've taken one apart because the injector module broke, and it was a very cost-effective thing. It was $200 to replace the injector driver. That's what it's called, injector driver. It was $200 for that. I mean, I don't know, what other systems, are that inexpensive or something like that. I know the Edelbrock system, it's, $300-400 for the computer, couple $100 for injectors, so and so forth. And I know you can replace FI Tech injectors with Bosch injectors because they're all GM part numbers, and some of their plugs and stuff that they have for sensors. Those are also you can get those from auto parts stores and stuff. You just have to call them and ask them. They're really cool. This one is not internally regulated, unlike the other two that I have, because the other Go EFI systems I have, they're internally regulated. This one is not, because it's the classic. So I have to run their FI Tech fuel pressure regulator, which honestly, once I plugged it in, the aeromotive tank that's in the car works fantastically with it. That was a very fancy word. But yeah, so that is supplying pressure at 60 psi to the through the throttle body, and it's super easy to adjust right here with that Allen key on the top. So that's really cool. Underneath the throttle body, we have an Offenhauser Portosonic intake, which is a very random intake that I found on Facebook Marketplace. I think it was up in Ohio that the person shipped it down to me. But the runners are a little bit longer than like, say, Torque or 2 intake, or some Holley intakes are similar. These are taller runners and they're a little bit bigger, so I figured it might be a pretty good intake to run with this stuff. That intake is feeding into 2 Blueprint heads. They're 195cc. I think they're like the 800 2K, I think is what their part number is, or something like that. But they're the 195 runners, 202 1.6 valves. The springs and stuff are good to 575 lift. I got them used from Facebook Marketplace for basically half the cost of what they are new, so score. So those are obviously a big part of why this engine was together in the first place. And then I got a TrickFlow hydraulic flat tappet cam. It has about it's the 480, 486. I think it's their Track Max. It's their smaller one of the 2 or 3 options that they have. So with the 1.6 rockers I have, it should be around 515, 530 lift. So pretty decent sized cam, and it sounds pretty good in the car. I'll have video that you'll see later of it being in the car running. But and then from there, it's a stock bottom end Chevy Performance oil pump, because that's the only one I can really find for a 62 to 67 Nova. Headman headers, 2 1/4 inch exhaust with Flowmasters, D-rail performance electric fan, and a Griffin radiator. MSD ignition with a Blaster 2 coil and one of their Pro Billet distributors. So that's kind of what the whole engine is. I didn't even change bearings in it. I probably should have, but I didn't. We ran all the break-in oil through it. We broke it in at 2,500 to 3,000 RPM, kind of varying. It runs pretty good. You'll get to see some of that here in a little bit. But yeah, so that's kind of what the engine is. It's been a lot of work trying to get this thing in there. Right now we have this rag in the front because it has the old school oil cap that I used to have, but this is making too much pressure to where it actually blows oil out the breather. So I need to go get a freeze plug to put into that hole, and so that way it covers that hole up. So that's one of the things we have to do. If we had major oil leaks in the back, we actually had to take the intake back off because I was using the gaskets and not just a bead of RTV. So that's one issue that we ran into. What are the other things? We adjusted rockers a couple of times. We're trying to figure out what all we need to do with there, because it just has a lot of valve clatter, and I'll probably, in another video, I'll do that. I have to fix some of the exhaust because the exhaust is hitting because of where these heads are, because the stock heads are a little bit tighter. These are spaced out just a little bit, so they actually push the headers out a little bit and kind of mess with my geometry and my exhaust, because if you haven't messed with these Novas, they're very tight inside, so you gotta shoehorn everything in here. But yeah, so that's kind of... But yeah, so that's the gist of everything that we've kind of done, and so enjoy the rest of this video. I'll see you guys here in a little bit. But it is coming out, so that is a positive. And I think I got literally everything out, so I don't have to worry about, you know, aside from dripping water everywhere. Freedom! Woohoo! obviously, the 350 is in. Yeah. Woo! So what ended up happening on Saturday and Sunday was we spent an enormous amount of time, and I filmed some of it, and I hope some of that time-lapse stuff actually caught what we were doing. My buddy and I were getting the 350, and we had to like basically assemble the 350 because I needed to get the roll rockers on. We had to do the whole valve train, we had to do the oil pan, we had to do stuff like that for it. Drop it in the car. We have solid motor mounts in the car now, so we had to get those in. We had to get a whole bunch of stuff, converter, EFI had to be wired back in, and we got all that done. Saturday to Sunday morning, we literally stayed up all night getting it together. I slept for like 4 or 5 hours Sunday morning, afternoon, and then we ended up getting the car to the point where we could start it, and we got the engine broken in. We got the cam broken in, we got everything in. So, not without a few hiccups, like that caught on fire. That was resting on the header, and we didn't actually realize it because things relaxed as we were breaking things in, and that said, I'm gonna catch on fire, and it like lit on fire. So my Nova has now officially been on fire. You're welcome, Zane. We have similar cars now and trying to catch our stuff on fire. But yeah, it was that one down there. But you can see how close that is. I had to do some modification work to some of the things that kind of make the blueprint heads fit, like bend this header tube in and hammer it in right here because it was literally touching the shock tower, because I love shock towers, so that was a thing. But really, as far as modifications stuff goes, that's kind of the only thing I needed to do. So what has to be done now, because the car sort of runs, and I think a lot of it has to do with the FI-Tech system that's on it right now. Now, it's nothing against that system. I could probably make this thing run and do everything it needs to do with that system on it as it is. However, why would I do that when I have that hot rod system sitting right there? That's the 650 horsepower Go EFI Classic version, which looks like a 650 double pumper. Thank you, FI-Tech, for sponsoring us and giving us that system. It's really cool. So I'm going to start working on getting that in the car, get that kind of set up, get it all tuned up, get the car actually running. We also have to adjust rockers because we have them adjusted loose purposefully so the cam didn't get really jacked up when we were doing everything. So we have to change oil, swap over the FI-Tech system. I have to check the oil pan because it's leaking a little bit. So I have to check that. Hopefully we don't have to actually change the oil pan gasket. I have a new one. It's that box right there. Hopefully that's the right one. So I have that one. And some other stuff. So, but yeah, oh, I forgot to get one of those. Always something. I forgot to get that guy because I whacked the crap out of that one. But yeah, so I mean the car runs pretty good. Here, let me see if I can get it to pop off so you guys can see it at least, or hear it at least idle in this video before we end it. Oh, and I have to mess with my shifter linkage because when we put that blanket on it, yeah, it doesn't really fit because I forgot that I basically have to wedge the 700 in between the floor and, you know, everything to fit in this car. It's a very small car. So I had to wedge it in there, and yeah, it wasn't gonna fit. So I think it probably whacked my linkage arm or something like that, some of the bracketry that's down there. So it doesn't like going to park right now, so we have to adjust that. But let's see if it fires. Actually, I'll put you guys this way so you can hear the exhaust. Alright, that's about all I'm going to do because Obviously I have to adjust rockers. I think that's part of the beginning because it's not really opening the valves all the way it needs to. So it's kind of going kind of a thing. So gotta do that. Get that finished, get oil changed over, get all that kind of stuff done, get the FI-Tech system on it, do that, check the oil pan, make sure it's actually doing what it needs to do. And then, hopefully, we'll be rocking on Saturday and get the car out on the racetrack for the first time in Tennessee at Bristol, which will be really cool. So, hopefully. All right, well, I hope you enjoyed this very poorly conceived video. I promise I'll start doing better. This just after all this crap that's been going on in our lives, you know, the new shop, everything else, work and all that kind of stuff. I've kind of gotten a little rusty on how to do all this stuff. So hope you guys enjoyed this video. Be sure to subscribe and, you know, like everything that we're doing. I'm going to be dropping a few more videos hopefully this week. I'm going to try to really just hit it hard because I really want to start growing and getting everything a little bit better. Because, yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on. So I'll give you guys an update on that very soon. And I'm going to do another update video on the Nova, hopefully this afternoon once I get everything kind of more settled in the car. We have tires sitting over there because not this next weekend, but the third weekend in May, there's another big race coming up. So hopefully we can get that kind of going and get the car ready for that, because that'll be really fun because we'll be going to Bristol. So with that being said, be sure to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I'll see you guys later. Peace.